Welcome. This is Alice Alicia Jones, and this is another presentation of past lives and how they influence this lifetime. I only can speak for myself. I felt a resistance to do the work that in my heart I was called to do. And why I felt a resistance was absolutely beyond me. I couldn't figure out what was holding me back, but it almost seemed like the proverbial boogeyman that haunts little children. And I, until I started learning about past lives, and nothing would make sense to me as to why I was reluctant to do something that was so important to me. The irony is with past lives, though, technically, there is no such thing as a past life because once you step out of the third dimension and you go into the void, you go into a place of nothingness, you go into the other dimensions, you recognize that all of the lives that you are living, you're living at the same time and in the same place. So, effectively, any single thing that you are feeling because it is happening. And one of my quests in life has been to understand my life's journey, to understand the spiritual side of my life, because the human side uh, made no sense. And so, as I kept unfolding into the spiritual side, I started to gather together a wholeness and gather together a completeness in myself that started to effectively free me from the chains that bound me, free me from the constrictions from the past. Now, what was it? I'll just give you a few of my past lives that were uncovered for me. Some I uncovered myself, but the one that probably made the greatest impact was when Carol Fitzpatrick, who is a lovely psychic and a futurist and a visionary, and lives in Virginia, um, gave me a reading. I don't know, 10 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. And as she was giving me the reading, what she said to me was that you were once the head of Lemuria, the continent known as Lemuria, which currently is the Hawaiian Islands. And as the head of Lemuria, you had your high priests look into the future, and they saw this decade, the decade that we just went through, 1900 to 2000. And as you looked at the events of 1900 to 2000, two world wars, concentration camps, other additional wars, you looked at it and you said, well, this doesn't look like peace. And so you had your high priests alter the time space continuum. And what it did was it made a rift in the time space continuum. Um, I have not that much understanding scientifically, uh, but I'm sure that Einstein would have a lot to say about that, or the other current scientists that are out there. All I can tell you is, as she said it, it rang as truth to me. And so effectively, I have a uh, I have a time then as I looked at her, I wanted to watch and I wanted to, or I reacted in such a manner that I looked at her and said, "Am I going to be doing the same thing you're doing?" And she said, "Yes." And that was the start of my stepping into a much bigger role than I had been playing, because I had been given past life readings, but I had done it only to friends and family and to friends of my daughter. So I do want to encourage you to the one thing that I have offered is free past life readings to anybody who is willing to step forward. I will need your name, and I would like the name of the person that you would like to have a greater understanding of your relationship with them in a past life. Um, Sometimes I don't get a complete name. I'll just get something like my mother in law, and I go searching for the energy of the mother in law, and am able to bring forth the information. So, anybody who would like to have a reading, obviously, it all starts with your name. So, just please step forward if you wish. Um, Anyway, going back to Carol Fitzpatrick, she's a lovely, lovely person. Like I said, she's a futurist, she's a visionary. She continues to operate a program that I know uh, I'm pretty sure it takes place once a month, even though I haven't had the time to attend in since that time that I saw her. So I am very, very grateful to have her in my life to set in motion a series of events. Um, and the next past life that's well, it's set in motion a series of events that effectively changed my life. And the next event, the past life that comes into my vision, is the past life that appeared to me as I was in a Christmas event with a group of friends. And this is known as a Yankee Trader uh, by some. I think that's the easiest way to identify it. But it's where you take a gift, but you can also steal somebody else's opened gift if you like their gift better than the unopened one that you just took. And so anyway, there was an angel that appeared in one of the gifts that I absolutely coveted. Uh, oh, great! Joe M. Powers is online, and Joe, I would like. I know that the only question I have for you is there somebody special that you have that you want a past life reading with? Or is it just reading in general for yourself? So please just identify that, and I'll take it from there. But the what I was saying in the Yankee Trader is I coveted this angel. And as I coveted it, I knew I didn't have the last number. So I wouldn't be able to be guaranteed that I would take it. Well, or the last number is actually number one, was considered the last number. So it was the person who had number one that would determine who it was that was going to get the gift. And because she had the final say. And as it turned out, it just so happened that there was a number of women that coveted that angel, one of which was the grandmother of the gal who had number one. And so she kept encouraging the granddaughter to take the angel from from me because I had it at that point. And the granddaughter kept looking over and she said, "But I like this snowman." And the irony was the snowman was the gift that I had brought to the table, and it was a lovely gift. I liked it too, but I didn't like it more than the angel. And anyway, the long and short of it was that the they did they just kept saying, take the gift, take the gift, take the gift, and take the angel, take the angel, take the angel. And ultimately, I lost my angel. And as they kept chanting that, what I heard in my mind's eye was crucify him. I was taken back to a time when I was an early Christian and I was on trial, and the crowd made the decision as to whether or not I was going to be crucified. So it's like the room dissolved, and that's all I saw and I heard was that scene that happened and where I was going to be crucified. And I will tell you this much: I came down with the worst headache I think I've ever had in my life because effectively the scene faded and I was able to go um, I was able to go to back to where I was. But fortunately, the migraine headache dissipated in about half an hour. So it's not something that stayed with me all day. But that was a very dramatic way of bringing a past life forward towards me. There's others that I will tell you about, but Joe would like past life reading in general. So I'm going to go with that right now. And so I'm just going to ask to be shown what past life or lives, Joe M. Powers has had in a previous lifetime. And the first life, Joe, that stepped forward was a lifetime in Japan. And what I see is where you were a geisha. And so you were there strictly to be there to satisfy the sexual desires of the master who owned you or who controlled you or who housed you. And so that was a very subservient lifetime. It wasn't a very happy lifetime for you because there was a jealousy factor. You had you had a very strong ego. You also felt extremely um, jealous of another person that the master also favored. And because you had your own home, the whole complex was basically filled with women who were owned by this master. And so you learn to recognize exactly what happened and how um, someone was called to service the master. So then you would keep a scorecard of who was up next, how many times they went, etc. And so you became extremely jealous of that of any person that was chosen over you, and it became extremely difficult for you. Um, I think the sense that I have with you is that you either committed suicide or you attempted to commit suicide very quickly, because your jealousy couldn't be contained. There was no way for you to feel like I want uh, I want to take this and I'm okay with it. Um, the second life that came in immediately, and this is a lifetime that I've discussed with you, is a silky, where you were. And for those of you who know what a silky is, it's not exactly a mythological creature, but it exists also in the fifth dimension, though. So not everybody can see this. It's basically a beautiful woman who has become who has chosen to become take life as a seal, and but then will eliminate her seal costume and remove it from herself and then sun herself on the rocks. And if a fisherman comes by who falls in love with her, he then is able to take and give a he's able to take and bring the woman home as his wife. The only thing is that he also has to take the um, the seal skin with him, and he has to hide it on the premises of where he lives. And in hiding it, it has to be in such a space that you would not find it. The sense that I had with you is you did find it. You did find your seal skin. You did chose to go back into the ocean as a seal. So uh, we have let's see if I'm just going to very quickly ask if there's a third life that wants to come in. Okay, this showed up pretty quickly, so I'm going to say that this is important too. Um, you're like a newsboy on the streets of New York, and this is when the New York Times and is vying for major position, and you're you're a real hustler. You take your newspapers and you take great pride in the fact that not only do you have are able to give them uh, to you make more sales, it seems like, than any other of the newsboys, but you're also one of the strongest newsboys out there, so you can also bring more bundles to sell. So anyway, it's a lifetime that uh, it's not that you're impoverished. You don't have a lot of money, but you're in a family of loving beings, and the your mother and several siblings. I don't really see much evidence of a father, but she's always so grateful for the money that you bring home for her. So I really, you're just lively. You're engaged. You love to talk to people, and they love you. So uh, pretty similar to the kind of personality that you are in this lifetime. So at least the way I see you. Anyway, love having you, and hope that has helped. The next segment we're going to break now. We're going to take a break, and we have another segment coming up. And Erin Roselle will be the Poe. Will be the lady who gets a past life reading. Thank you. And
we have more.
Okay, and then after that, Ingrid Peterson and Elizabeth Gatt. Thank you.